All right, so let's talk about the housing costs now, right? So what are the prices for real estate right now? Um, let's take a look back before COVID, right? We're talking like 2016, 17, 18, all the way up to 2021, 20, let's say. And prices were cheap, right? Nobody knows about Turkey. It's a new market, nobody really cares, right? So at this point, post COVID, something happened, everything started going crazy. Lots of people started hearing about Turkey. And then we'll talk about that too, foreigners and locals, right? We'll talk about who caused what, right? Anyway, so the prices of real estate, going back to that, so costs started to go higher, right? So we saw a boom. 2021, inflation, stuff like that was happening to 2022, a crazy increase in costs, right? So people who invested at that time, they saw a very big gain at that. That was the point of going up climax, right? So 2024 is when things started to decline, essentially, right? Started to kind of go tip over the top and go back down. And you could say even 23 was peaking and that was it. And then 24 started to, and then mid 24 and all the way up till now, it's basically flatline, right? So it went up, came back down, and then sort of flatlining now until it's continuing to flatline, basically, right? So it has dropped by a certain percent, let's say 7, 8%, 10%, depending on the situation, right? So it went up. It was going, like, we were seeing what, 20, 25%, 20%, 15% capital appreciation year on year, right? So it was going. It was just like, every year, okay, great, going up, going up, going up. So again, we'll talk about why, that may be, and that's going to be the next topic. But right now, let's focus on how much are things costing at this point in time, right? So in 25 right now, let's say back then you could buy a villa, like before, it was quite cheap. You could buy a villa even $250,000 when citizenship was $250K, right? So you could literally buy a villa at that point. Now $250K villas are still possible, in the sense that closer to 300, 250 is still even possible in an older villa. So you could still buy, for example, in Antalya, you could buy a villa for 275, 300, 325. You could buy a pretty decent older, like not too old, but it is going to be old. It's not going to be brand new. It's going to be like 10 years old, 12 years old, 15 years old, maybe 8 years old, right? You could buy older villas, and some of them might not be in the best condition. You could buy older villas and you could redo them, renovate them, just, or if they're good condition, maybe some minor things, you don't like the layouts, you got to change a few things here and there. This is definitely doable, which is a quite interesting point, right? And that's where you're going to see, I'm going to be focusing on this. I'm going to be bringing to you some villa deals that are going to be good, nicely priced, right? Brand new villas, this is a totally different game. This is a totally different ball game. You have villas which are brand new. Starting prices are 600, 700,000, up to a million, 1.5. I mean, this is like, of course, a million plus are total, like very high end. But regular, nice, newer villas are definitely in the 700, 6 to 800K range, right? You're not going to get anything lower. I mean, I do have like a few deals here and there where I could get you a brand new villa, a sort of a townhouse villa style, like semi-detached villa for 450K with citizenship. I do have a deal like that. But again, this is a compound villa, right? This is not a fully detached villa. This is a compound villa which has great amenities and everything. But it is, again, at the end, it is a joint villa, like it's semi-detached. So that's the thing. So you do have options. You have options for older villas which are cheaper, and you can get those deals. Now let's talk about the demand for housing, right? What is the demand for housing in Turkey right now, right? So I mean, the population, is about 70, 75 million. Major cities like Istanbul, you're looking at 16 to 17 million people living in this city. And you've seen Istanbul, how dense it is, right? Obviously, there's a huge demand for housing in cities like Ankara, Istanbul, Bursa, Antalya, Izmir. These are the top cities, and there's a huge demand for housing, right? So the estimated, for example, in Istanbul, you need about 122,000 homes annually, every year, right? And about only half of those are being able to be built, less than half, right? There's a huge demand for construction in the southeast of Turkey, right? Due to the earthquakes, a lot of the talent has moved there to build right now, right? So they've been building, and they've only been built like 1/3 of what they're supposed to have been built, right? So right now it's still under the goals that they were supposed to have been met, right? So we are still looking at a huge demand for housing, right? The only thing is that the housing demand is there, the prices are high, right? So let's talk about why the prices are high, right? So there is this huge misconception that people think that it's because of foreigners. Russians are coming in, there's a war, Iranians, Arabs, right, Somalians, or Yemenis, whatever the case may be, right, Syrians. So all this, okay, there is obviously, there is a small impact is there, definitely. I'm not saying that, but if you just look at the numbers, the sales data, right? So when you look at the sales data every single year, right, all the way back 10 years back, right, look at it from 2010 all the way to 2025, the percentage of foreign buyers out of the total number of sales that happen in Turkey, home sales, right, is 1.52%. Like, it's always under 2. The only time it has gone above 2 to 3 and 4% was the highest, was in the peak period, like 2023 or something like that. So 2022, 2023, post-COVID, that was the peak time. 21, 22, 23. And now it's back to 1.5, 1.6% is the foreign buyers. So all are local buyers, right? All the 98% of the action that happens here, it's all done with local buyers. Now, of course, there is market sentiment where these sort of like influx of people coming in, and of course there was the earthquake, so there was local people moving around as well. So that sort of thing does affect it, but mainly it's local buyers and the interest rates. When you look at the interest rates, inflation, these things, if you look at them side by side, you can see, when the interest rates are high and the inflation is high, right? So in the beginning, the interest rate was very low, but there was high inflation. People said, how can we make money? We're losing money. We're losing our money's worth. Put it into land, put it into property, right? So that's what happened. People started buying a lot of property in those years, and foreigners were buying property too. At that time, people were discovering Turkey and everything, so they were just buying property. Post-COVID, they couldn't go anywhere. Turkey was the only place that was open, right? So people were coming to Turkey, buying property here. Then what happened is that the government took a 360, and in 2023, they said, let's change the interest rate, let's change the policy, monetary policy, and let's increase the interest rates. So from those low single-digit numbers, the interest rate went up to 40, 50, 55%. So people said, wow, okay, why am I gonna buy property where I can make the capital appreciation is what, 15% at the most, 20%. Those are in the good days, when I can make here in the bank 55%, 50%. So people ran to the bank, right? And the properties were neglected, so the property market was neglected. So the renters market went up. People stopped owning, they started renting, putting money in the bank. So with that being said, now where we stand today is, you saw all that I talked about, the downwards trend, and for the interest rate. So when it goes, right now it's at 43. If it keeps going like that, and you got to get in before it gets to closer to 20, because by that time everything is going to be people will have already gotten into, they have gotten into the market, and they'll be picking up on those cues, right? So we have to go in earlier when those things people are still thinking, and you gotta be hit early, right? So that's the whole point. Now, going back to the final question, now, does it make sense, Turkey? Does it still make sense, right? So I just want to touch upon this after saying all the market data. So Turkey is basically a country which is 100% safe, right? In terms of the living here. When you live day to day here, it's quite safe. You can drive around, walk around different neighborhoods. You're not getting like mugged. Apart from maybe one or two areas in Istanbul, right? Normally the cities are safe, right? It's not like London or New York, Toronto, even many parts of Europe, right? So you do have very dangerous areas. Many areas are dangerous, right? Over here, mostly it's safe. Mostly it's safe, right? It's quite well done. The weather is great, right? You have all 4 seasons here. Obviously, you've got. If you want warmer weather, you come to the south, Antalya, Marmaris, Bodrum, Fethiye, Izmir. You got this whole coastal line, right? Mersin, Hatay, and so on, right? If you like colder weather, you stay up in the central areas like Ankara or even Bursa, Istanbul, or even colder, go up north like Trabzon, Rize, right? If you like that. If you like to be in mid temperatures, maybe Bursa, right? So if you want something like that, so you've got everything to cater for here, right? That's the best part. One of the main, I would say, advantages right now globally, the Turkish citizenship program is the most attractive program right now. I mean, I'm not just saying this, but you can research it and see, and everybody says this, right? There is no other program out there like the Turkish citizenship program where you invest in real estate and you get a citizenship just by holding that property 3 years. You're not keeping it for your whole life, right? You got to just hold it, and practically it's not limited to a very small number of properties. It is by far the entire market, but you do have to kind of pick and choose a few things. You got to keep in mind that it's a Turkish owner, and the property is there's no tax issues and so on, right? So there are certain things we do have to check. But for the most part, it is a wide variety of options you have. You can get your residency as well. If you can't do the 400K USD option, you do the 200K USD option. Get the residency, live here for 5 years, naturalize into a citizen, right? So that is another option for you and your family. If you don't want to do the 400K, you do the 200K. And you still can do it in a way that you have the option of doing the 400K. Let's say maybe you don't have all the funds, you just start with the 200K. Next year, or 2 years later, you happen to have another 200. You invest, and if you do it right the first time, you need to make sure that you start off correctly. If you start off like, yeah, I know everything and I'm just gonna do it, myself, and you make mistakes and you end up, then it's not gonna happen. You have to do it correctly from the beginning. The first property, you buy it correctly with the right terms and conditions. The second one, then after 2 years later, boom, you have your citizenship as well. So the other thing is the education, healthcare. Education, public schools, we know they're free. Private schools, comparatively, they're same prices like the UAE, or UAE is even more expensive, I think. You could probably find cheaper here, but like similar to the Gulf, right? So you're looking at about $6,000-7,000 a year, maybe even $4,000 or $5,000 a year for one child. You can find cheaper, but I'm talking for a good, very like a nicer school. So not more than 7-8K per year, right? So it's like, for example, in Antalya, I think some of the best schools are about maybe $7,000 to $8,000 a year per kid. If you have 2 kids, maybe you can do a discount, right? You can get a little bit cheaper. So, but you have even decent schools for less, even like 5K, 4K USD, I'm talking per year, right? So there are private schools if you want to go that route. You don't have to. You can just put them into public school, teach them a bit of Turkish, put them in a Turkish language school or online Turkish classes, and chuck them into the public system, right? After a little bit of Turkish language training. So you've got the healthcare system, which is again very robust. You've got private, public, all those things are there. You've got good business potential for those people who are thinking about income, right? So you've got business potential here. So you've got obviously a big industry, Turkish products, produce, agriculture, right? There you can work on your own brand. Let's say if you want to build something, textile is big here, fashion, textile, Turkish products, you can build them here. assemble them here, and then ship them out. So you can build your own brand. That's something that's doable. So there's definitely a lot that's possible here. Healthcare, health products are big here, you know, soaps and things like that, right? Oils, food products are huge. So if anyone is interested in, by the way, getting products, sourcing them, do get in touch with me as well. I've been looking into and expanding that reach as well. I was doing construction materials as well before that, but now sort of getting into other areas. So if you are looking to source products for your country from Turkey, again, that's something that we can assist with. All right, thank you very much for watching this far. And I would like to say that, you know, just stay tuned, keep your eye on the market. If you are looking to invest or get into Turkey, you can even take a small step at a time. So it could be a smaller property. It could be feel free to have a visit just to kind of get an idea if you're still not sure yet. And of course, reach out for a conversation with me, maybe somebody from my team. We can set something up. I've got, you know, people in Istanbul, in Ankara, in Bursa, and in Antalya, where I'm based myself. So if you need anything from any of these cities, we are here to help you.